So, good morning, everyone. Let us start with our lecture. So, in the last lecture, we had seen that what do you mean by memory, how to manage your memory, what are the different memory types, that is your primary memory, secondary memory, then what are the subtypes for the each, that is your RAM, ROM. Then ROM has three types, that is PROM, EPROM, and EEPROM. Similarly, when we talk about RAM, we had two types, that is your SRAM and DRAM. When I talk about secondary memory, then we have your hard disk drive, flash disk drive, pen drive, and so on. So in the initial lecture, we had seen that what do you mean by memory and what are the different types of the memory. Then next we had seen that how the allocation of memory takes place. That is the two ways to allocate your memory. That is allocation using stack and second is heap. So we have already seen this. Now we are moving to the next topic, that is your performance and battery life. So whenever we talk about performance and battery life, both are equally important because when we are thinking of writing a code, performance and battery life both have to go hand in hand because most of the time what is good for one, it is not good for other. So whether both of these things are required to optimize your overall productivity actually depends on the application which you are running. Because when you talk about your devices, especially the IoT devices, which actually runs or which has a limitation with respect to battery, then you need to power them with some external devices or maybe solar cells. So it actually depends that what application you are using, what hardware component you are using. So that actually decides what is the performance and what is going to be the battery life. Because when I talk about performance, it refers to that as soon as the command is given or as soon as any input is received, it should spontaneously give the answer back or response back. So that is the performance here. The more faster the response is received, the more high performances of your devices. So performance is something which plays a very important role when it comes to productivity of your devices, and battery life is also equally important to make your devices run. So at the end of the day, we can say that both of them are equally important if you want a proper or you can say an overall functioning of your application as well as the device. So when we have already covered so many chapters and we have already seen that when I talk about your IoT devices or when we are talking about any embedded platform, the biggest hurdle which we are facing all the time is the power consumption, and that actually comes with respect to your hardware design. So it is always suggested that whenever if your devices consume more, let them put into the sleep mode, let them relax for the while, okay? Because when you are putting them into the sleep mode, your entire processor and whatever task which is you are done so far or which have executed also ends up well, and it will give you good results as well. So once your code is finished and once everything is done with respect to application, make sure that you put your devices into sleep mode, because the more they rest, the more productivity of your overall devices can be increased. So that is very much important. And if we see logically, it is not just only the hardware who is responsible with respect to the performance. At times, software also plays a very important role, because if your software are completing the execution of the code faster, okay, then only your hardware will go to sleep or they will go into the sleep mode and rest, make your devices rest for a while. So your softwares are also an important aspect when we talk about performance and battery life. So your hardware software together will enhance the overall performance, and battery life is something which will make your devices run for a longer time. So one of the best things which you can do to make your code efficient, that you should go for event driven models. Okay, so event driven models are nothing but the softwares which will take the inputs or make your codes run in the real time and give you the result faster. So that is something event driven model. So which you can go for that techniques, so that the it will take very less time for your code to execute and your hardware can go to sleep as soon as the code execution is done, instead of going for a polling method which we have already seen before, wherein you both in client and server has to be in real time. So in that state, when something is taking place in a real time, the device cannot sleep, because both of them have to be in active mode, both of them have to be there all the time. So the performance and battery life in the case of your real time system is something which is becomes very low, and it is something requires very high performance and high battery life. Okay, so in that case it is really not possible that you can go with this as a combination. But whenever you are working on a standalone devices, when you are running few set of codes, in that case instead of making the codes run manually, you can go for event-driven model that will really help you to compile your codes in the lesser time, and it will let your devices to sleep or rest for a while. So that is why it is always suggested that you should always go for a power saver mode whenever you think that your task is done, because this is something and a very important activity which will help you to increase the performance and the battery life of your devices. So that was your performance and battery life. Let's move to the next. Next topic we have is libraries. So when I talk about libraries, to be very simple, we can say this is a set of or collection of pre-compiled routines, okay, which every program requires. Without a library, your programs cannot work. So these routines are actually at times also called as modules, and libraries are very much important because they help you to run your codes. And once you have added libraries into your code, you don't need to link them. It is automatically linked with your source code. So most of the times in your programming languages, we usually add libraries. Okay. Likewise, I'll take an example of your C++ or C code. Okay. Wherein you add your header files. The reason why we had a header files because we are using the functions like printf, scanf, and those functions are already included in those libraries, which will help the program to run, and these are automatically linked. Okay, so libraries are something which is very important and which will help you to make your program run. Without your libraries, your program cannot run if you are using their functions. Like if I'm using scanf and printf, if I'm directly using it without adding the header files, in that case, I will definitely get an error message because I have not included the header files, I have not included the library files. So it is very much important that you should include your libraries at very first place if you are using their functions, because every library comes with some specific set of tasks and that will help you to complete. So libraries, in short, we can say are set of routines which are used by your computer applications, or you can say software programs which will help you to make your program runs. So every software code which you are writing actually has some set of libraries, and you can use those libraries and make your task easier. So when we talk about libraries, mostly we have libraries. Best example comes on your Linux platform because there are many server packages. There are many libraries which you need to include it. Similarly, when we talk about environment, that is the microcontrollers, that can be your IoT or embedded devices, they are some sort of resource constrained devices. Okay, so when you are talking about this type of resource constrained devices, so in that case also you have to make sure that you are going for lightweight libraries. Okay, always remember one thing: whenever we are dealing with resource constrained devices, or whenever we are dealing with devices that comes with some limitation, everything whatever you are using for communication or interaction, it always has to be lightweight. Okay, so the lightweight here refers to that whatever you're using, it should not consume more memory, it should not consume your more CPU, nor it should consume more battery life. So everything whatever you're using on resource constrained devices, it should be lightweight in nature. Similarly, in libraries also, we have to make sure that whatever libraries which we are using for the resource constrained devices, they themselves also have to be lightweight. So there are few examples of library which are usually used with the on the Linux platform. Okay, the very first is LWIP. You can see over the screens. So when I talk about LWIP, the word means they are lightweight. It uses TCP/IP protocol suite, and this is used for all the low constraint nodes, you can say, or all the low constraint devices. Okay, because this type of library takes your space of RAM that is just 10 kilobytes. Okay, so mostly when we talk about libraries which are lightweight, we want to have an interaction, then we can go with this set of library which uses TCP/IP. So if uses TCP/IP, then there is some sort of acknowledgement, there's some sort of, you can say, proper communication between your client and server. The only the reason we are using all these libraries are they are lightweight in nature, and they will help you to have a communication over resource constrained nodes, resource constrained networks, or you can say resource constrained devices. Okay, next have UIP. Okay, it is also referred as micro IP. Again, it is of type TCP/IP protocol suite, and it also runs with less RAM size. And basically, when we talk about lightweight libraries, these are those libraries which will just help you to have a communication. They are not going to save anything into their memories, nor the incoming packets, nor the outgoing packets. Okay, just a simple acknowledgement, yes, no, that's all. Just to have an end-to-end communication that whatever is being sent or whatever is being received is done successfully, because they are already suffering from low memory, they are suffering from low CPU, so they cannot keep something with them, because if they keep something with them, then they cannot do the next interaction, or you can say next sending of the packets. So this type of library will just simply communicate along with the acknowledgement send and receive, just to know that whatever has been sent has been received successfully. All the incoming packets or all the outgoing packets are not stored anywhere, nor on the client side, nor on the server side, and not in the buffer as well. Next, we have third library, that is UCLIBC. Okay, this is the version of your GNU C library. Basically, it is used for embedded and over your Linux platforms. So these are those set of libraries which actually takes very fewer resources, and at times they will help you to recompile the source code also. So whenever you want to do recompilation of source code along with the GNU library, you can go with this version. Next, we have Atom threads. So this is again a type of lightweight, but the best part of this Atom thread is these are real-time scheduler which are used for your embedded devices. So whenever you want to have a real-time communication between your clients and server, you can go with this Atom threads. So basically they schedule a real time for the client and server, and accordingly they'll start an interaction. Mostly this type of libraries are of multitasking in nature. Okay. Now, atom threads here refers to what? Single thread. So the communication which will be taken place from a client to server will be taken over the single thread. And with that single thread, they are going to communicate with each other in real time. Last, BusyBox. So when I talk about BusyBox, it's actually not a library, but you can say it is a collection of Unix utilities which are usually used. And there are some small executable packages which are there, which will help you to implement into your Linux, or you can say shell environments on your commands that you can be used. That is your BusyBox. So it will have a set of commands or utilities which are usually used in Linux. So if you want to have an access to this, then you can use with this BusyBox. So it is not a library, you can say in short. It is just a set of Unix utilities. These are small executable packages which will help you to set your shell environment and to write commands on your system. So these are the most common libraries which are used. Always remember, when we talk about libraries with respect to your embedded devices or microcontrollers, they will be usually lightweight type of libraries wherein they will just communicate with each other without storing any information, because these are the device libraries which are run on the devices which are resource constrained. So they are also have to be lightweight in nature, and these are the common ones which are used. Let's move to the next. Next, we have debugging. Okay, so this is something which is a very common word which we always come across, and we always come across with the situation as well when we do the debugging in the code. So basically, debugging is nothing but to identify that whatever code you have written, accordingly the values are being inserted when you are running the code. So that is called as debugging. So usually when we talk about debugging, we come across this scenario when you see that your variables are not declared, the values of variables are cannot be seen in the output, and you need to check the code line by line. So when you want to check the code line by line, you usually do the debugging. So debugging is nothing but, you can say, an activity which helps you to check your input and the corresponding output are met or not. If there is not met, you cannot see the output. So why it is not met? We usually do the debugging by setting different breakpoints, and with that breakpoints, you check each and every expression, the values of the variables are correctly inserted into your codes, and it can be seen or not, that we check. Okay, so debugging is something which is very much important. And most of the time when we talk about debugging, it is something, you can say, a very frustrating part of writing the software. Now, we as a students, like, we always do the debugging of code which is just one or two. But when we talk of an actual scenario, when there are software developers or software programmers, where they are writing so many codes in a day. So in case if they come across the scenario, for them debugging becomes a very tedious task, and at times it is something which is frustrating as well. In embedded system, the situation is more frustrating. That's no doubt, because here you are going to check each and every component which you are placed into your breadboards, because here you don't have an interface. Like, In software, we have an interface wherein you can make breakpoints, you can check the values of expression of variables. But in embedded, you don't have something like a software background. So if there is any problem with the physical connection over the breadboards, you need to check each and every connection which you're making over the board. So that is something become a very tedious task. When you have a software interface, in that case, debugging is somewhere easy, you can say, as compared to checking the debugging with respect to your physical design, or you can say your embedded platforms. But when we talk about your Internet of Things, we always come up with electronic circuits, we have sensors, we have actuators. So it is always double way, or you can say a double task for debugging. You have to debug your hardware platform also, you have to debug your software platform also. So that is something which is usually used as a part of an complete application. So when we talk about debugging with respect to software, we always set some breakpoints and we keep checking the execution of the program on each breakpoint, or you can say each line. We check each and every condition, whether it is matching or not, or whether the corresponding outputs are seen or not. We check each and every expression has been correctly evaluated, all your assumptions which you have made through the code, whether it is executing line by line and properly, and we see that what happens at each step. So that is the debugging process, wherein you can see each and every step that what is happening, and with that each step, whether you can see the corresponding output also or not. So debugging is something which will help you to understand the areas which into your source code have errors, and you can rectify those errors with this debugging process. So when we talk about debugging, it actually is very important process. In an embedded platform, it becomes very difficult, because when you talk about embedded platform, they usually come up with Linux platform. Most of the embedded platform, if you see, they are writing the code into the backend will be of Linux type. Okay, even in your Arduino and Raspberry Pi, once you start with the practicals, you will see the library files which you are including, all everything, the code which you are writing will be of Linux. Okay, because embedded platform are more closely related to the Linux programming. And this, since the reason is like Linux is something which is platform independent, so that is also a big reason why embedded platforms are included into your Linux platform. So most of the codes which will be there will be your Linux programming. The embedded environment for your embedded system will be also over the operating system, that is your Linux. And in Linux, when you talk about debugging, there is something called as GNU debugger. And using that GNU debugger, you can debug if there is any errors into your code, if there is any problem, if you stuck somewhere. In that case, you can use the GNU debugger. Okay, this GNU debugger also helps you to check for the errors which you have made into your physical devices. Okay, so if you are making a physical connection over your breadboards and you are not able to understand that what is the problem, so with this GNU debugger, you can even identify the problems, or the, you can say, if you have stuck somewhere while designing your hardware components, while placing your components into your breadboard, those errors can also be rectified, you can say, or corrected with the help of GNU debugger. So this is a debugging tool which will help you to correct your hardware or physical design also, as well as your software design also. And mostly it is used with the Linux platform. So when I talk about debugging, this is an important activity. And whenever you feel that you are stuck, you are not getting the proper outputs, in that case, you will do the debugging process. So debugging is very much important, so that your corresponding inputs and outputs are matched. Okay. So we'll take a quick recap, whatever we had done today. So for the today's lecture, we had seen the very first topic, that was the performance and battery life. So whenever I talk about performance and battery life, this is something which we should always go hand in hand, because when we talk about performance and battery life, it is dealing with respect to your application. So whatever application you are using, it decides themselves that whether they want a more performance or whether they want a battery life. But at the end of the day, both of them are equally important, because if you don't have a power battery life, you cannot see the performance of your system. It is always suggested that you should complete your code execution as early as possible. Make your devices sleep for a while, so that once they are back to the original form, the performance is increased. So you should always make sure that you are letting your devices rest for a while. If you think that your devices are resource constrained devices, then if you want to enhance your battery life, then in that case you can use external modes, or you can say external battery generators that can be your solar cell or any external batteries, which will help you to keep the performance of your devices up to date. Next, we had seen libraries. So libraries are nothing but, you can say, the collection of pre-compiled routines that your programs or your software application requires, because these are the libraries which will make your program run. Without the libraries, your programs cannot run, because this set of libraries will have some functions, and those functions usually we use in our source code. So it is very much important and essential to include your libraries at the initial step. Just like you're in Java, we have java.io.star. So why is that library included? So that all your input output functions are the part of those library, and if you are using them into your code, they will directly link to that library and they will not give you an error. So libraries will have some set of routines, or it will have some set of modules which are already defined into them, and you don't need to explicitly link them. They are automatically linked there. You just have to specify the library, and if you are using any function of them, that can be also done there. So when we talk about libraries in this category, we have to always remember that here we are dealing with the libraries. Those are devices which are resource constrained devices. So resource constrained devices are the one, those who suffer from low memory, low CPU, they come up with some limitation, low battery life. So they are something which are having some limitation. So whenever you have some limitation, the selection of libraries also has to be in that way. So here we are going to select those libraries which are lightweight in nature, which will not take much of your RAM size, and which will help you to have a seamless communication between your devices. So the very first we have library, that is your LWIP. So it stands for lightweight IP. It is of type TCP/IP protocol. So this works well with your low constraint devices or nodes, because it just takes a few kilobytes of RAM, that is usually 10 kilobytes. Similarly, we have UIP, that is also a lightweight library, which also takes just 10 kilobytes of your RAM size, and it makes sure that they store nothing with them, nor the incoming packets, nor the outgoing packets. They'll just have an acknowledgement that whatever has been sent is successfully received. That's it. Nothing else is going to be saved, because they are some device. These are the libraries which are working on resource constrained devices, and those resource constrained devices doesn't have memory to store. Next, we have UCLIBC. So this is also a type of library which you use with your GNU C library. So most of the time, whenever you want to recompile the source code without making much changes into it, without making the changes into your codes, and you want to make your library work with very fewer resources, then you can go with this set of library. Next, we have atom threads. So atom here refers to single, and threads refers to the threads which are used for communication. So this is a set of library which will help you to schedule a real-time communication, and which will help you to have a communication between your devices. Mostly this act as a real-time scheduler for all your embedded system. So the scheduler one does what? It actually switches the task between your devices and helps you to do the multitasking here. So atom threads here refers to single threads which are used for communication, which will help you to have a real-time communication along with multitasking task over your PCs. Last is BusyBox. This is not actually a library, but you can say collection of Unix utility which are combined into single, or you can say small executable packages, and which will help you to set your shell environment and write the commands over the Linux system. Last topic for the day which we have seen was debugging. So when I talk about debugging, this is something which is a very important activity which you do during the software running process. Once you see that you are not getting the desired output, you usually set the debugging environment, and with this debugging environment, you understand whether the inputs are matching with the corresponding outputs or not. So basically here you are going to set some breakpoints, and with that breakpoints, you are going to check each and every line of the code, and you will understand what happens when each line of the code is running. So accordingly, you will understand whatever error is there into your code, and you can rectify that. Okay. In debugging, when we talk about software interface, it is very easy. But when we talk about debugging with respect to embedded platform, this is something very difficult, because you are going to make connections over your breadboards. So you really don't know that which connection is not correctly done, or which is not properly inserted into your breadboards, and which is generating errors. So debugging into your physical environment, or you can say over the breadboards, is difficult to rectify. However, in software debugging, it is possible by just setting the breakpoints, you can do the task. So whenever we want to have a debugging of your software as well as the hardware, we usually use GNU debugger. This is something an Linux GNU debugging tool which will help you to do the debugging of your hardware platform as well as the software platform. Mostly when we talk about embedded platform, they usually perform the code execution over the Linux platform, because Linux is a platform independent language and it really helps you to have a seamless communication between your hardware or software devices. Even in your Raspberry Pi, you are going to have a Linux operating system. With the help of that Linux platform, you are going to write the Linux code, because Raspberry Pi itself uses a Linux commands for execution. So you will see into your practicals that how the debugging takes place with help your embedded devices or your Linux platform. So that's it for the day. Thank you, everyone.